what do the Mini Cooper, Eric Clapton and 1970s sitcoms have in common? Surbiton, my hometown. We are in Surbiton and that is a classic Art Deco apartment block, side by side with the Victorian villa, and further up there a modern office building. Looks like the postman's just doing his deliveries over there. So welcome to Surbiton. We are in Claremont Gardens, little garden and pond oasis. People walk their dogs, play with their kids, come out at lunchtime and have their lunch on a beautiful summer's day. So we are in May 2020. We are on slightly relaxed lockdown. So lockdown restrictions were reduced slightly last week. People are allowed out more freely to walk or exercise whenever they want, drive around a bit. So let's see what that looks like in Surbiton. If I headed in that direction, I would go to Kingston. You may see my Kingston walks and enjoy the views from there. But we're going to walk past these Victorian villas and 1970s blocks of flats up towards Surbiton High Street. There is, of course, a rubbish truck coming. Always the joys of filming. I think I'll pause it a sec. Okay, let's do a restart and hope that rubbish truck is making rapid progress down the main street of Surbiton. So as I said, we have some really beautiful Victorian villas, many of them being well restored these days. Actually, I took my dog into one of them because it's a vet's now. So one day my doggie managed to eat a whole load of my medication while I wasn't in the house. And I was supposed to be going to pick up Mr. Let's Walk London from Heathrow Airport. In the end, had to take the dog to an emergency vet's along here so they could make him throw it all back up again. Nice story to start the video. So I'm pointing you in the direction of Waitrose and also let's just show you this villa here, gorgeous. 32A, the Cottage, which means it's been built in the garden, I imagine, of somebody else's place. Here we go. So as I said, I think this is a King George Coronation clock. There's some kind of medallion on it. Oh, I just realised we got a little compass showing me where north is at the top. Here we have Waitrose. Can't see a queue at the moment. Most times when I come past here there's a social distancing queue. I think it might be for vulnerable and NHS at the moment, shopping in there. And along here we have the sort of classic 1920s, 1930s architecture of this part of Surbiton. Waitrose actually used to be a cinema. When I moved to the area it was a B&Q. Didn't make a lot of money in that B&Q, but Waitrose took it over. And it's been a very successful spot. Here we've got estate agents. The health food shop is open again now. The press room coffee shop, I notice, is open for takeaway. Barber's not open yet. Bars and things not open, obviously. Charity shops still closed. So we're reaching sort of the main entrance to what you would call the High Street. It's Victoria Road in Surbiton. We're in the Surbiton town centre conservation area. There are quite a few parts of Surbiton that are conservation areas. We're at the bottom of St Mark's Hill now. Just going to cross. Still quite quiet traffic wise. And that is the Coronation Hall. We do seem to like our coronation celebrations. That's from 1911, I think, for the coronation of Edward the... somebody correct me, Edward the something. It celebrated his coronation. It was a 600-seat cinema and closed in the 60s. At one point was going to become a naturist nudist club. That met a lot of local opposition, and now it's a pub. I think who owns it? Can't remember. Some chain. You can get your bikes here. Here is Surbiton Station. Classic 1920s Art Deco facade, and apparently no hands on the clock. It's a bit windy, hope that's okay. So trains are running. People say they're pretty busy. There's been some news reports with the slight relaxation of some very busy trains. And this sort of Art Deco facade, very popular as the underground system developed and transport links developed in London. So you see that look quite often. Do check out my walk in the upmarket suburb of Southborough, because there you will find me chatting on about the history of Surbiton. One historian, I'm just trying to find it in my notes, one historian, and I quote, says, "Surbiton may fairly claim its place in history, for it is the oldest suburb in Europe, perhaps in the world, that was called into being by a railway." So this, you will have heard in my Southborough video if you watch it, refers to the Industrial Revolution. And in 1839, the railway, the London to Southampton railway, arrived in Surbiton, reputedly because the residents of Kingston did not want a railway going through because it would affect the lucrative coaching trade, wagon and horses style stuff. But there is another view that this is a myth, and that actually it was the actions of Lord Cottenham who prevented the development of the railway through Kingston, because it would have gone through his Wimbledon estate. So he was later to become Solicitor General, knew what he was doing, and prevented a railway line through Kingston. And so that's why Kingston is now on a branch line, which inevitably got built 30 years after the Surbiton line. Well, the Surbiton line, you can be in London in 17 minutes from Surbiton. 17 minutes into London, Waterloo. There's Poundland, staying open. Boots, pharmacy. Everybody's putting up all the signs and the guidance for all of the social distancing measures. McDonald's closed at the moment. Don't know if they're going to pop back into action. Takeaway. So yes, finishing up the story of Surbiton. Surbiton was actually originally called Kingston upon Railway, because there wasn't anything here, just a few farms, until Thomas Pooley, quite a visionary in many respects, ended up going bankrupt. But much of the development of Surbiton was sort of his vision of creating a town where people could live in what was sold and marketed as the most beautiful views and countryside in the country, originally, before it all got built on. So Thomas Pooley had a vision that you would live here and commute into London. And there's even stories that on a Monday morning from Surbiton, the trains were too busy. And I think a letter was written saying, could you possibly put some more trains on a Monday morning? This is 19th century. So Cook, the frozen food company, posh frozen food, looking like they're closed. It says keep 2 metres apart. This is Surbiton Plaza. This is a very new development, gone up in the last few years. And we're back down at the other end of Victoria Road. So this is Victoria Road, the main street through Surbiton. There's the Sainsbury's, which is the other big supermarket. Again, no queues. I think I could probably pop in and do a bit of shopping. As it happens, I've done some shopping today. Well, not today. I shopped last week. I just need to top up a few things now. That's the old post office. Then it became a ZZ. And I think, oops, I don't know what it is now. And down here we have the YMCA. My next door neighbour's son has just joined the gym there. Wedding dress shop. Everyone cancelling their weddings. Well, not cancelling their weddings, you know. Quite a lot of people still getting married. In rather an alternative way, online. So more places sort of doing takeaway with their food. I suppose I could tell you a few things. Surbiton is a suburban neighbourhood of South West London, within the Royal Borough of Kingston upon Thames since 1965. Now this place, Exceller, it's sort of French, does cheeses, wines. I think they're doing takeaway at the moment. And if we walked up that way, we would be in Southborough, where I did my Southborough lockdown walk. Do check it out. If we go through that way, we would go to Victoria Park. This is Brighton Road that goes straight down to the River Thames. And if you take a right at the bottom, it takes you along the river to Kingston. So you can see more rows here of mostly 1920s apartment blocks, and then sort of intermingled with more modern buildings and Victorian. We are now 11 miles or 18 kilometres southwest of Charing Cross. Our Member of Parliament is Ed Davey, who is Liberal Democrat and was rather shut down by Boris Johnson in Parliament at Prime Minister's questions last week. There we have a Victorian row. And right at the end of it, a 1970s block of houses. There we go. Population here of about 45,000 people. So you have the bedpost, bought the odd bits and pieces in there. Hair studio, furniture, bathrooms, pizzas. Windy, sorry if it's windy on the mic. Oh, I should say, Surbiton's yet another filming location for Harry Potter. Surbiton train station, forgot to mention that when we were there. 2009, Surbiton station was in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, for the Harry Potter fans. So as I said, down the river to Kingston. If you go that way, we are going this way past the Black Lion pub along Maple Road. So every third Saturday of the month, there's a farmers market here. Obviously no farmers market at the moment. And that would be further on along Maple Road. Comes across. Don't worry, they're not beeping at me. So nice little row of Victorian cottages here. As I said, Thomas Pooley, the sort of visionary who took on much of this area and developed it into a commuter town. And as I said, arguably the first commuter town as a result of the railways in Europe, even the world. It's a pretty popular place to live, right on the Thames. Kingston right next door for shopping. These days a few decent restaurants. An amazing restaurant called the French Table just along here. One of the best restaurants in London. We do go there for good occasions when it's worth splashing out a bit, because they are really good. Okay, we are now in St Andrew's Square. Just going to tilt the Osmo Pocket up a bit, seems to have gone down a bit low. I want to catch those buildings. Is that okay? So I believe this is known as Gothic classical style architecture. St Andrew's Square is actually one of the conservation areas, and it was not the Good Life location for filming. Actually, The Good Life, which some of you will be familiar with from the 1970s sitcom about wishing to live a farm-like existence amongst the suburbs, was located in Surbiton, although not actually filmed here. Filmed in North London. So this is St Andrew's Square, one of the few Victorian squares in the southwest of London, and actually the only traditional Victorian garden square in the borough. It's a place of special architectural and historic interest. Much the same as Claremont Gardens, where we started. It's a nice oasis. And it kind of reminds me of the EastEnders Square. If any of you watch EastEnders, they seem to have a square with a garden and the market in the middle. So it's built between 1876 and 1884. And also St Andrew's Church, which we're going to see over there, built a bit later in the Gothic style. Largely funded by the banking family Coutts. Why is that? As I've said, visionary Thomas Pooley went bankrupt. So Coutts Bank took on, well, basically all of his properties and all of his land. And the Coutts Bank actually is responsible for developing much of Surbiton as a result. If you've seen my Southborough video, you would have seen me mentioned Thomas Hardy. He of Far From the Madding Crowd and other books lived in this area for a while, just after he was married. And as they were developing the Victorian housing stock. So we're back on Maple Road. You can see these Gothic style Victorian mansions here. Mostly, many of them, I don't know if they still are, they were developing some into flats. I don't know if you're allowed to do that still, or if they had to be retained as houses. And there we go, lingering view of St Andrew's Square. There we go. And there we have the Gothic styled St Andrew's Church. So I'm going to walk along this way now, and I see we've got a Nordic walker coming towards us. I'd love to do Nordic walking. It's supposed to be really good for you. Now, these particular houses I wish I could remember the architectural style or the architects that built these. I know they've got a name or something. You've realised, not that big on architecture. So that would take you down to the River Thames. Takes you back up to the High Street through there, Surbiton High Street. I'm going to continue along Maple Road a bit. So we are technically in week 9 of lockdown now. Some relaxation. Lots of arguments now. Should the schools reopen? Is it safe? Public transport's a real issue because if you live in London, you can't really go to work unless you take public transport. I think, from here into the city, for example, it's around 9-10 miles. Can't really drive it, so you have to take buses and trains, and some of them have been quite busy. Other reports are saying it's quiet. Who knows the right answer? Nobody, I suspect. I understand Boris Johnson made a comment that nobody should be fatties in their 50s and be healthy after his epiphany. Okay. So I was mentioning the French Table restaurant, so it's just along here. On farmers market days, on the third Saturday of the month, they do a farmers market breakfast. It's the biz, it's really good. So we do try and come here occasionally for a treat. But right now I'm going to cross here. We're going to head back to the High Street. We've got Maple School just along there as well. Then we've got a view back here towards St Andrew's Square. So again, more Victorian Road and through to the back end of Waitrose. So how is everybody? Are we well? Have we all been on lockdown? And how's that treating you? Or how are you treating it? I think whereas everybody was all guns blazing at the start of lockdown, exercise, diet, school routines, I think by week 9 we're all starting to get a little bit tired and reaching for the gin or the wine a bit too regularly. Or is that just me? Actually, I was up until 1 a.m. this morning because my son, who I've mentioned in the past is a YouTuber, was doing a big upload on his quite big YouTube channel. So I have to help him. It's pretty intense activity doing one of his uploads. They're only short animations, but it's a lot of editing work that we have to do to perfect them for upload. And then I can't sleep, so I have to wait till at least 3. And up again at 7. Partly because we got some people putting some electricity lines to our shed. We have a fantasy of turning the shed into a home gym. I don't think that's going to happen, but we can dream. So I haven't said anything yet, but 1,000 subscribers. I reached 1,000 subscribers on the channel 10 days ago, something like that. Can I thank you all? I always feel like you're doing me a favour just by turning up and watching my videos. So can I really, really thank those of you who've supported this channel from a really long way back. You all know who you are. I'm not going to name any names, as I'll guarantee you I'll miss somebody out. But thank you those who turn up, view, comment, do likes, subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. The YouTube dreaded algorithm really pays attention to if you comment, if you like, if you subscribe. There we go. View back down to Maple Road. So thank you really for watching, chatting with me, giving your feedback as well, your ideas. You know, those of you whose ideas I've used, bus trip for example, Russell Square's another example, just 2 examples off the top of my head of things that I've done because of your feedback and requests. Do keep them coming in. This is the Surbiton Club. I do not know what that is. Answers on a postcard if anyone knows what is the Surbiton Club. As we arrive back towards Surbiton, as I said, back end of Waitrose for the deliveries and back into a sort of 1920s sort of apartment block with shops below, very classic Surbiton. So please do, those who've been so supportive and so amazing as a community on this channel, and those who haven't yet and would like to join, turn up, watch, comment, chat with me. It's a very nice crowd on this channel. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like on the channel. Anything you'd like to see me doing on the channel that I haven't thought of. Always open to ideas. Anything you're not so keen on, I'm a big girl, I can take it. Tell me if there's anything you don't like that much. Talking of the YouTube statistics, the algorithm as it's called, it tells me that you actually don't like long videos. You prefer shorter ones. So I think I'm going to act on the data. Lies, damn lies and statistics, but I think I'll act on that and start producing some shorter videos. But do please give me your feedback and that type of thing. Here we are, nearly back where we started now. Claremont Gardens down there. So I think I'm going to cross over and sign off. Here we go. With heartfelt thanks for all your support. Do check out the rest of the channel if you're new here. Do subscribe. Do comment. I love all that. Love to hear from you. And I'll sign off now. Bye bye. Well, I forgot to say, I'm just off to show you the old Mini Cooper factory and also the place where Eric Clapton bought his first guitar. See you in a sec. Okay, so this used to be Bell's music shop. I think Bell Music Shop, actually. And they had another place just over there. And that's where Eric Clapton bought his first guitar. Langley's, this building is also famous because it was an original Waitrose, not the original Waitrose, but it was one of the early Waitrose supermarkets. It all happens in Surbiton. I am just outside of, you can't see it, Fish Pond Park. That's where I walk little Frankie, our dog. But I haven't brought you here for that. This is the original factory of the Mini Cooper. So John Cooper, the name behind and creator of the Mini Cooper, had his factory here from 1934 until it closed in 1965. And if you look, you have a little blue plaque telling us not to get run over. And here we go, winners of the Formula One World Championships in 1959 and 1960. The factory here was once considered one of the most influential racing car factories in the world. It is now owned by Charles Ivey, who repair Porsches in here, and they have committed to restoring what they can so that present and future lovers and enthusiasts for the Mini Cooper can come and enjoy. So there we are, the home of the Mini Cooper in Surbiton. Who knew? Oh look, they have a red plaque too. Transport Trust, Transport Heritage Site, Cooper Car Company Works, 46 to 65, birthplace of the World Championship winning rear-engined Formula One GP cars and of the Mini Cooper. Whoa, you go Mini Cooper. Hey there, I do hope you enjoyed that walk through my hometown of Surbiton. I will see you next time. Bye bye.